getting on and off the motorbike today. So Eddie Dunbar's got a little bit of chasing to do.
De la noche de curso, que era una autoridad insultante con un poderío descomunal.
And the peloton now is on this climb as well. Tadej Pogačar staying out of trouble on the right-hand side as we look. Just to his right-hand side, our left-hand side as we look is Jonas Vingegaard. Just behind them is Michael Woods. Left-hand side of the peloton now. Right-hand side as we look is Mathieu van der Poel. Here comes João Almeida.
Tiesj Benoot doing what he does best there with Vingegaard on the wheel. Tadej Pogačar sitting on the wheel of Almeida, but moreover keeping an eye on his direct rival.
Real concentration now as they pedal their way through. The crowd are having to step back so fast. They don't realise just how mobbed this peloton is, with so many riders spread across the road. Muck on the road as well as they made their way up around that corner. Left-hand side, the team of Lidl Trek are now represented as well. So are Groupama, FDJ United. And where the cars are parked as well, there's not much space left. Over the top of the climb, the first climb of the day, the peloton at 2:44.
The wind seems to be a bit stronger now. Coming from the left-hand side of the road.
A la salida del peralte y ahí buscar el apoyo en 2:25.
I don't know about you, I was quite surprised about how loud they're banging the boards outside the window today.
Yeah, I was wondering where the ammunition was. Well, it's in front of us now.
Right, we've got a little bit of time between the climbs as we get confirmation that Benjamin Thomas has 2 points, Vingegaard has 1, Leknesund has 1. There's still 5 points on offer before the end of today's stage.
Que a veces no se
The
toma
breakaway's got
conciencia
to
porque
hope that they
es
don't
verdad
get
que ha
caught.
habido actores, digamos, secundarios que han ganado etapas en el Tour de Francia,
The
pero
last climb of the day, and then they can secure this jersey. And Leknesund is
más
hoping,
cierto
I'm sure, to get the
que
top.
cuesta que hay otros
Andreas
muchos corredores
Leknesund's average
importantes que
speed
no han
on that
conseguido
climb,
ganar una etapa en el Tour de Francia.
28.7
Los French
kilometers an
contador no
hour.
están en
His average speed over that 5.9% gradient.
Yeah, it's a high speed, but we've seen a lot of the high speeds on the climbs down the roads of the Tour de France.
Completamente arriba la cresta de la curva.
Again, we see how steep it was, but then the flat
Y ahí
part.
se ha ido de morros al suelo.
Leknesund, quite a handy climber actually. Teammates of mine, my last year.
Y con ello la oportunidad de marcar un buen resultado hoy.
He's a decent rider, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's won
very
some races
good as
now.
well.
Benjamin Thomas. I was wondering
Ya
why
7
his
caídas.
pedaling stroke wasn't
Tenemos que
how
ver
it
ahora
normally is.
también
If you notice,
la
he's
nueva
not
bajada
quite turning
Ryan
those pedals
Pinkerton,
very
que se ha
well.
visto afectado por esa bandera
He's
roja
on the wrong bike
de
right
la
now.
anterior caída y que por lo que nos dicen pues bajará
The wind is
entre
blowing,
Lucas
and
Shaw
here's our
y
four-rider
Jackson Costa.
breakaway. Nico, between
Pues
now and
por
the
primera
next
vez en una final
climb,
de
what's
Copa
the
del Mundo
terrain like?
esta
What are we
temporada el
expecting, and how much
canadiense
more are
del
they in a
Nordo
headwind?
So about 40 kilometers.
Tardísimo,
So
esto ahora
they'll
lo
have just
obliga
under an
a
hour
entrar al
racing
circuito.
before
Bueno,
they change
básicamente
direction.
el error ha sido
Well,
de
actually,
bulto en
they'll
esa
go
primera
into
zona
more of a
rápida
headwind
arriba en la
in
salida,
about 20 kilometers. And then they will do
donde se ha
a
quedado
U-turn
lejísimo,
and
retrasadísimo y
go
luego ya ha
back
sido
with that
imposible.
three-quarter tailwind. So it's going to be an extremely fast finish once we pass the sprint, 65 to go.
So we'll have a three-quarter tailwind
Recuperar ni con
and
la
crosswind
pierna
all the
fuera
way
ni
to the
dentro.
finish.
So actually the wind
La
now is
posición en la
coming
que
Y
from
van bajando y van
the
bajando y el
southwest, so they
que
should have a three-quarter
Guillermo
tailwind
Ripierron
now.
con
They've changed
su
direction a little bit. 20k from now, they will do a U-turn and they will go a little
Crash
bit
at
more.
the peloton,
Crash.
and a number of riders have hit the deck as they made their way down that descent. I think Moritz is one of them. Another rider on the right-hand side who's in the ditch. That's, I think, Lennart van Etvelt is down. For the team of Lotto,
La primera moneda contable nativa
unfortunately.
digital dedicada a los ciclistas. Descarga la aplicación Imatra.
Big crash in the peloton as they rushed their way downhill there.
Oh wow, so the bike was in the middle of the road and he's down
Gana
the
con
ditch on
cada
the right.
kilómetro.
I don't know if you noticed.
Imatra está
There was
conectado a
Marino
Garmin.
there. And Eddie Dunbar, second crash.
Lots of riders are held up. It's not Moritz this time. It is Fred Wright.
waiting for his car.
And Van Hetveld's lost loads of that.
Siguiente en bajar, Oliver Schwartz.
He's pretty shaken.
Los dos pilotos
Yeah, his bike in the middle of the road and him in the ditch on the
FMD
right
Racing, que en
hand
esta
side.
ocasión han clasificado para la final, tanto él.
This is the danger of the Tour, isn't it, Nico? You've got to be really vigilant all the time. Particularly, we saw them going so fast down that descent and then rushing their way into the next climb.
And this is why you see that teams that are trying to win the Tour de France in the front, all together, trying to stay out of trouble.
We're inside the magic 100 kilometers to go on stage 2 of this year's Tour, from Lo Van Plonk to Boulogne-sur-Mer. Riders just trying to get themselves going again. Jordan Jegat is number 186. He's with Matteo Verche, who crashed yesterday. We've got a lot of work to do to get back in. Eddie Dunbar, that's not a good hour for him. 2 crashes in less than an hour for Eddie Dunbar. And still, Leonard Van Hetvel is at the side of the road. Fred Wright gets going. The horns are sounding as always as Fred Wright tries to get himself back into this peloton. I would have thought Fred Wright would have enjoyed today's race finish. It would have been quite nice for him.
De los últimos, con lo cual va a tener bastantes referencias. Por otro lado, abajo una parte del circuito. Con lo cual ya le tiene por lo menos cogido el tacto, sabe cómo está esa parte del circuito.
Oliver Schwartz, vamos con el veterano sueco.
Leave me alone, he says. We know why. He wants to get a little bit of time behind some cars to get himself back into the race if he can.
You're spending too much time with me.
I am. It's time to look for more answers.
En el Tour esos enganchones por la velocidad y sobre todo porque se ruedan muy juntos. Muy próximo uno de otro, ¿no? Al final caes sobre otros corredores, entonces en días así.
Just waiting for him. Quite a few Lotto riders, Marcel, have. Well, there are guys further up the road there who've been off. There were obviously a group of them who went down.
It must have happened in the middle of the peloton, and we don't really know why, but...
Fred Wright was in the middle of the road there, and he's managed to remount and carry on, but riding through this exposed section on his own. And there was a Total Energies rider down as well, Jordan Jegat. We're not quite sure where he is, but there we are.
Just been so tightly packed, it's crosswinds now all the way to the finish. They just keep changing direction, but it's always side.
No es que lo más importante, pero no, me estaba acordando antes porque el otro sudafricano se llegó a correr con flecha, Robert Hunter, en el Rabobank, ¿no? Estuvo contigo varios años.
No, de equipo no, yo no he coincidido con él nunca.
Pero no estuvo en Rabobank.
Sí, y en Mapei.
Y en Mapei.
Orrillo coincidió con Hunter. Sí.
El terreno está difícil y está un poco.
For the moment that in the middle of the stage, with still 100 miles to go, well, 100 kilometers, not to go, 97 kilometers still to go, and
yeah, I think the the first, like it's always the same, the first week of the tour is so
Veamos mucho
nervous,
sub-23,
also the
ahí
stage
arriba,
of today
y
is
casi
a great example for that. We all have seen the profile, and the closer you get to the coast and the crosswinds pick up, the more nervosity
un poquito más ya conservador, Oliver.
Sí, él ya sabe que ha hecho
in the field and the
varios significativos.
Develop to a big swing, and that can take out a few riders, and then you see those
que bueno, todavía tiene que disputar y hacer su bajada a lo mejor lo más rápida posible para ver si rasca.
Sent back to help the stricken Lennart van Eekveld.
And he's especially
falls out a bit of the screen there would be good.
We urgently need pixels. Yeah, but I mean, it is part of it, isn't it? It's too much a part of it. Let's not say which part of it is, but yeah. Well,
thank you, Fred.
No, a lo comía, claro.
Bueno, pues vamos a intentar explicarlo.
Rider down. It's just being a little bit too eventful for them. Robert Stannard.
Una forma que todo el mundo lo pueda entender para que sepa realmente la dificultad y de la exigencia tan.
It's such a hard job, really.
Service.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but
si contamos también a Randon por salir.
El último italiano preparado. There's always somewhere a gap, so you just have to be patient and wait for the right moment.
Yeah, I wasn't very good at that.
Mejor carrera de esta temporada, aunque sea en la Q1.
By the way, Marcel and Chris, do you two know each other? Have you met each other? Yeah.
Yeah, in places like this where you cross over, but yeah, I'm a fair bit older.
I wasn't saying did you race against each other.
Yeah, no, we never really had the pleasure. It was just...
These places are like where old cyclists come once a year. Is like a big convention.
Yeah.
It is. And actually, the funny thing I find is that I'm always saying hello to the same friendly, smiling faces that I can't quite put a name to.
Yeah.
You know? But it's really nice, actually, as Marcel flies over backwards on a seat that isn't ideally tailored for your stature.
No, but I have to say, and it's also because the generational
luego
difference
pasamos,
is so big.
recuerdo que inauguramos aquella ocasión, tuvimos el privilegio la gente.
Yeah, we have almost 200 riders here in the peloton, and then you have I don't know how many other riders that are already.
Que seguimos el tour y los ciclistas pasamos el Canal de la Mancha, estrenamos el Eurotúnel. Fue en julio del año 1994, media horita.
Yeah.
Well, two of these four have been down. Actually, the rider that hasn't been, or one of the two riders, obviously, because 2 and 2 make 4, who hasn't fallen down is
otras. Y no para sustos, Davide.
Lotto, 3 riders at the back with Lotto. The only Argentine rider, in fact, the only rider from Patagonia in the professional
top
peloton.
1.2, no estaba mal esa.
Doing a job of work at the back. He's drifted around teams all his career. Finally,
es que ahora mismo el podio está en poco menos de 3 segundos, 3 segundos y medio.
But I went for lunch. Who do you think for the finish?
Yeah, I actually think it's either Mathieu van der Poel or Pogacar.
Oh, Pogacar. Oh, right, okay.
I do believe that he.
Yeah. That'd be depressing.
His legs are obviously good, and he loves these kind of stages, and he has to move anyway with the first group because you cannot lose any time somewhere.
Esta noche, China.
Allí en China se han ido.
There is a chance in it for him. But let's see. I think this kind of stage suits a lot of guys. As I said, also Mathieu van der Poel. It's also like really, almost disappointing to see that Lotto just crashed with 3 guys because they
para el corredor del Rocket Racing.
They have a classic team here. You would expect them to be also in front. Julien Alaphilippe could also do a final like this.
A few people mention that name and just go, I'm not sure, but he was 5th in the Tour of Switzerland, so his form is not.
Bien, sin subimos al Peralte.
And he's very instinctive.
Se ha ido completamente.
Here is some
ha ido directo.
That is
Julien Alaphilippe en esa curva.
Better today than yesterday.
Error, Davide.
Yeah, we saw him behind.
God, that was timely. Like it was scripted.
So telling him to stay close to Marco Haller, or Mark Hirschi, in fact. Probably Mark Hirschi is telling him to.
He's not had much of a year, really, has he? Had a win right at the start.
Días de pista, llevamos ya 10.
Having in Mallorca challenge and nothing more for Mark Hirschi. But Matteo Trentin was 5th yesterday, and he's another rider who he's not exactly a sprinter. He's not exactly, and if he has the form, a lot of these Tudor riders, they seem sort of to have picked them up just when they're on the downhill slope towards the end that I know so well.
Yeah, but I think they really have also good energy within the team. They can give these, often guys that are at the end of their careers new energy.
Sí, puede recuperar uno. Ayer hubo muchas pérdidas de tiempo.
When I saw the team set up also before the Tour de France, I thought, Dainese, I wouldn't actually put him in my long list of favorites.
Porque nos quedamos un poco con la copla de los hombres más relevantes que entregaron 40 segundos, Trago, Lipovic, Renko, Roglic.
So I'm looking forward to that in the next.
I think the chances are today, though, isn't it? It's going to happen.
And
el Tour es como esta, ¿no? Como una clase.
Just with one other rider, or do you think
time to regroup? Straight up another one, 5 kilometers.
Yeah, it would be better to have all the riders, but it's
or maybe one rider, and the possibility of getting caught in the final kilometre as well, because that's a tough last 1,000 meters.
So interesting at the end of yesterday's stage.
We had to go to the stage through all the stages. It's not 20
at the same time as Jasper Philipsen. They're so different. You've got GC today. Today's everything.
Hoy se juegan con muchos factores y hoy la meteorología también está a la orden del día en todos los equipos.
GC riders, then you've got sort of the big classic riders like Casper
Cerquísima, de los árboles.
Qué difícil están esos baches ya,
Aquí, esta es la zona que hemos visto que se está rompiendo muchísimo, aún así se mantiene bien alto.
Ackermann is kind of a pure sprinter. Of course, Philipsen also, he is also strong uphill. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes really far in the final today, because his legs are good. And I was quite surprised to see his top speed yesterday, because I think this year he's a little slower than he used to be, but he's climbing much better.
Con los otros sales quitados.
Empieza a cambiar el escenario,
with actually often tricky and difficult sprint finals.
Mathieu van der Poel's father was quoted in the local paper.
Frente del pelotón. Empezamos a ver ya a los equipos un poquito más organizados.
Marc Soler diciendo desde Vilanova y la Geltrú venimos a dominar.
And so they're going to be together for another 2-3 years, and they only really ride together, as Gary pointed out yesterday. They only really ride together.
Estamos hablando un poco, Alberto, ¿no? Ya no tanto de la llegada, que es una llegada exigente, como del penúltimo puerto a 8 de meta, que es el Buraco, ¿no?
Jasper goes into the stage with the yellow jersey, and then does a job for Mathieu van der Poel, and he wins the stage and takes the yellow jersey as well. That'd be pretty amazing. It's a great relationship.
They have a great relationship. Yeah. Also, their wives
teóricamente.
In the winter.
Hombre, ahí es donde va a depender un poco más.
They are connected and they have a good relationship with each other.
Es más tipo Van Aert y hasta me atrevería a decir el propio Van der Poel, porque si Pogacar...
Nigel Quinn or something. Quinn Simmons is the American champion, and
reminds me of that film Breaking Away.
Y Vingegaard se mueven en ese muro. Sí que ahí lo pueden pasar peor estos dos corredores.
He's so strong. And he's the guy.
I'm just looking at the
Pueden bajar los 6 últimos, un paravueltas para cada uno, porque
a lot of people scarred after yesterday, I think, got caught out.
Yeah, and they will get a lot of pressure now from the sports directors.
De momento el australiano capaz de
make sure they too. You will be there in front.
You make the mistake once and no more than once. And look at the wind turbine over on the right-hand side, and gives you an idea, doesn't it?
It's about 10 miles an hour less than yesterday, but it's still so exposed. It's enough.
But still, I'm to be honest, I'm doubting a little bit if they would really go in echelons, because also, first of all, the final is hard with these 3 categorized climbs, but it's also, it's quite technical, a lot of corners, direction changes.
¿Lo ves? El toro está
the wind will be less relevant, and there's also, I think, on some points at least, some forest, some higher trees that might be protecting the course a bit. But I saw also on top of the, I think first or the last or the climb before that, it's really all open again. And then once they're there, they go down again, and the city's protected. But I cannot imagine that the whole peloton goes all out in echelons.
And in about 5 kilometers, they're going to get to
a jump into cutting-edge technology, style,
which they're doing now,
and elevated look. Your smarter way of living the change has arrived. Leapmotor, a leap forward.
Pretty radically at that point, and that's why suddenly there is again this sense of heightened tension in the peloton.
Well, it's just staying all the time. The wind is off the sea, so every change of direction is just crosswind from one side or the other.
Exactly. It's exactly the same echelon, but coming from the other side.
They do have to invest a lot if they want to make the race early. Very difficult.
Benoît Mirail and Brent van Moer, the Lotto rider. I remember Brent van Moer being about to win a stage in something like Tirreno Adriatico in his first pro year 2021, and taking the wrong road and going the wrong way, and missing the chance to win the stage, of being absolutely to break his duck, to win his first in a World Tour race, win a stage, and deprived because, I think there was a marshal who was deep in conversation with someone and just let him go the wrong way, and
that hurts.
That hurts.
Lotto needs every single UCI point they can get. They are really under pressure as a team as well. But at the same time, they also have a really good scouting. They do find really, really good young talents like Brent van Moer, or obviously Arnaud Delis, Van Leertveld. That's really a great team when it comes to scouting. But if you don't get the wins, if you don't score the points.
And Arnaud Delis is one of those riders who, what a talent, what a natural talent. But does he have the discipline? Does he have the focus to make the most? Do you know who he reminds me of a little bit of? Carlos Betancourt. I don't even remember. Betancourt was a rider who went to AG Desert, and I worked with him actually at Movistar, and he turned up to the November training camp. I mean, 8 kilos overweight. And those kind of dark blue shorts. We pulled them on and they were very light blue when he wore them. But he had the but he had the talent. I'm not kidding you. He had the talent of Peter Sagan. But he didn't. He won Paris-Nice 7 kilos overweight. How do you do that? But just didn't have the head. And Arnaud Delis. He's got so much ability, so much potential.
I think he's struggling. I think he really wants it, but I think he's struggling with the very professional and sometimes very difficult part of cycling, that you have to work like a robot. You have to follow certain routines now, protocols. You have to put your foot on a scale and weigh it, and everything is so structured that some of these, you call them free souls, guys that need just some more space for themselves, really start to struggle and can really find their place, to be still human. And that's how I look at him, as a great talent that needs not a protocol, but just some more like a different treatment.
Yeah, and the opportunity to bed in a little bit and find the way that he's going to. Yeah, I agree. Well, look at that. Lennart van Eetvelt is the rider who was involved in that crash, and he's their GC rider, and they've sent 3 riders down to work with him, although I think that's Poelbeda at the front is just going so hard that he's not actually being any help at all. He's at the back of the peloton, but he's just racing for himself back there and not being a great deal.
But look how long it took them to come back. It's like 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes that they are now trying to come back to the peloton. So the speed is really high.
Yeah, it's deceptive, isn't it? The peloton's wide, but it's not slow. Everybody's about 53 kilometres an hour.
Just heading towards the point at which about another 500 metres for the breakaway riders before they kind of swing round. Well, it's really swing round. They turn a very acute left-hand bend, and suddenly from sort of north-northwest they start heading south-southwest.
They come from the other side.
Fred Wright involved in that crash. We're not quite sure in which way. Very difficult to see from the position of the motorbikes. It was in the belly of the peloton, but
I hope he's well, because I actually expect a few nice sprints still from him. Together with Phil Bauhaus in the team. I'm also curious to see how they handle it internally within the team, who gets chances and where and when. It's going to be nice. Not today, but maybe some of the other stages, next days.
Philipsen
just trying to get back to his team. They're really pushing on here, considering they've got best part of 2 hours of racing still to go.
Well, this is the real race for that corner, I think. And things will all turn round. So Philipsen really wanted to be surrounded by teammates when they get there.
2 minutes away, and then they've felt those few spots of rain as well.
Yep.
Just making everybody a little nervous. I don't think they're going to get too much in the way of rain for the rest of the day, but the wind's here to stay.
Wasn't Tim Bellens fantastically impressive yesterday for
one-man team?
UAE. Yeah, one-man team.
Yeah, as a new Belgian champion. Yeah, he was really impressive, and but he always is. He never has a weak moment.
These riders, I think they've just made that turn, haven't they? So I think they're in the village, and it looks to me like they've just made the turn that the peloton is kind of racing towards at this point, and closing in on them a little bit now. 149 the advantage of these four. 85 kilometres to go, and 85 kilometres just full of changes of direction and little climbs and all sorts of...
This is an uncategorised climb. They just go through this village and then it'll open out again, so it's really narrow. As you can see, those narrowing points which is stringing it out, and then it will get exposed all over again, so
that's
no fun.
What we also see in the classics, in spring classics, that the teams are really trying to be in front on those smaller, shorter climbs to just save energy, and those riders who are caught up in the back, they really struggle after the climbs to come back, because they have to invest a lot, and the whole peloton stretches out.
Down to 30 kilometres an hour and then 60 kilometres an hour.
And here suddenly they're at 10%. Well, this is the... well, it's a pretty much... It's a very controlled, but it's a very fast run into that turn. Now, what happens?
Going back to the car. Number 111. Jumping around as always. Moving around on the bike. Never sits still, does he?
No.
He's always doing something. Moving around, looking up, shaking the legs. It's good to see him. Okay, yesterday was not a good day for him, but it's good to see him sort of coming back to some good form now. 37 kilometers an hour up this climb. We've just gone up a non-classified climb of 10%, which is sure to hurt the legs. So we've talked about Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Lidl Trek then in this 3-week race. Jonathan Milan, Simone Consoni, Thibaut Nace, Quinn Simmons, Matthias Schellmoser, Tom Scoynes, Jasper Stuyven and Ed... Oh, another crash. A problem here. And this is Van Etveld. Oh, no, sorry, Arnaud Delis. Arnaud Delis has a problem now for Lotto.
Yeah, looks like he dropped the chain.
So either a little tumble or he dropped his chain. Lotto not having a good hour.
Oops.
Chasing like crazy, bringing Van Eetvelt back. Now Arnaud Delis is having to find his way back into this race. One of the sprinters in the Tour de France. So dark up this little climb.
Yes.
Even the headlights are now on. And this is a rider being distanced, Anders Johannesson. Sorry, Soren Varenskold.
He seems to be talking in the radio, so I wonder if he's not going back to the car.
Soren Varenskold, he didn't have a good day yesterday either.
No.
He's the sprinter. He eventually rescued it and was then in contention, but early in the stage, he had a bit of a moment where he was going out the back. Varenskold ended up in the sprint and ended up third. He managed to kind of turn everything around, but early in the stage we were writing him off, saying that was it, game over for Varenskold. So either he's going back to the cars or he's just having another bad moment and he's going to fight his way back in. We were just going to talk about Lidl Trek. The team that have come to the front, they're situated on the right-hand side of the picture as we look, the left-hand side of the road. And they have got some options. Yesterday was their moment. And yeah, wheel change for Varenskold. What do you think of Lidl Trek? What's their plan?
Their plan is to win stages with Jonathan Milan. And I think that was clear, that was said loud. And then they also, obviously, there's only a certain amount of stage that they can aim with Jonathan Milan. Yesterday was one of them, and they missed out. But they have a quite aggressive team for breakaways. And again, we're not quite sure of the form of Scalemoser. We know he's capable of doing a good GC, but he hasn't quite shown the form to be there as a GC. And yesterday, no one really helped him when he was on his own in the back. So I wonder if it was all the focus on Milan yesterday because they did think he could win the stage and tell Scalemoser, well, we can't be doing everything because that's the only firepower that we have. And remember, they had sacrificed already Quinn Simmons at very early on in the stage. So they were another rider down. I do think that when they can, they will support Jonathan Milan. And then Scalemoser will have to do a little bit on his own and surf around the peloton on those flatter stages because the team's around Milan. And then I think he will get a bit of help from the riders who can climb around him into the mountains, and then they'll see how they go. But again, I think they will have a lot of opportunities in the breakaways. Let's see how Thibaut Nice is going as well after his little crash yesterday. We know Tom Schoons is always excellent on the one-day race. Very good in Olympics, very good in the World Championships. Recently, again, Latvian champion, and loves a good breakaway.
He rode in the King of the Mountains jersey a few years ago, Tom Schoons. He's also good. He's finished on the podium at Strade Bianche and other races like that. So really good on a hard, gritty day when you really have to grind it out all day.
And I wonder if they're not going to ride for him today, actually. I was trying to see why were they in the front. I do not think Milan is strong enough to deal with the last three climbs.
No.
And the only solution I have here is they're riding or for Thibaut Nice, who crashed yesterday, or they're trying to keep Scalemoser out of trouble, or maybe give Tom Schoons, and why not even Jasper Stuyven. Jasper Stuyven yesterday didn't time his sprint well, and he was in the front group.
Yeah, he was.
And when I saw him there, and obviously being one of my good friends, I had to be biased. I was like, oh, you might actually have a chance without wanting it, just by being in the right moments. But no, and for example, this morning I was discussing with Cassani, who said, oh, he should have sat up straight away. And I was like, well, maybe if he's not sitting up, well, one, I don't think it would have made a difference if he'd sit up.
What,
but
to
two,
bring Milan back?
Yeah, which would not have happened.
Was it?
No, it was never going to happen. So then I was like, okay, it's smart by Lidl because Jasper is a pretty solid sprinter and maybe he can have a chance. But obviously without a lead-eye train, some of the sprinters are better and some other sprinters need their train to perform. And it's a big difference. And some riders are much better doing things on their own. And yesterday, unfortunately, timing was completely wrong for Jasper.
Yeah, but Jasper Stuyven's also one of those riders who takes an opportunity. If he sensed a kilometre and a half to go that everyone lulls and jumps away, he can win a stage.
Do you remember the last year?
Yeah,
he kept us on the edge of our seats till 5 kilometers to go.
Yeah, so why not? Why would he sit up and try and go back to the group and bring Milan back? Because he's not going to bring him back.
No, and remember how good he was in the classics this year in the Tour of Flanders. So the climb today is a little bit longer than the climbs in the Tour of Flanders, but it's the same type of climbs, that really short, it's probably like 2 minutes climb, if that, and that's the type of effort that suits him.
We finally managed to get the helicopters in the air, which signals that the weather has vastly improved compared to what it was. And now we're able to see just the might of the Tour de France as these 178 riders in this peloton work their way along the road, chasing the 4-rider breakaway. Behind them, the convoy of cars. And now we can see just how undulating the roads are that these riders are currently riding on. 138 for our 4 riders. And the team of Alpecin-Deceuninck with Sylvain Dillier doing a lot of the work now. Intermarché did the early work, not making the same mistake of yesterday. Remco Evenepoel up at the front now of this peloton. So you have Roglic, Evenepoel, Pogačar, Jonas Vingegaard, all within the first 20 riders at the head of this race. They are refusing today to not go with any moves that happen.
Yeah, it's just the final now. All the roads are a lot narrow. You could just see it. Yesterday there was quite big roads, and I understand why maybe you could relax for a second. And unfortunately that moment where they thought it was safe, well, it wasn't safe. But today, when you have these twisty roads, some parts is a little bit wet, there's a lot of road furniture up and down, it's so much more efficient to be in the front of the peloton than in the back.
Next little climb coming up, really starting to test the legs. The motorbikes are having to go past on these roads now. 134, the gap has dropped pretty significantly over the last few moments. They're about to take a right-hand turn, which is going to take them, by the looks of things, into a headwind.
Into a headwind, and yes, of course, since the big teams now have gone to the front to start to ride in position, well, that kind of little drag racing to be in position always bring the speed up. So it's not really that they're riding to close the gap, it's just the fighting for position in the back. The speed generally just goes up.
Ben Van Moor kicking through. There's the average speed, 42.91 kilometers an hour for these riders at the front today. They've really done a great job. They've managed to hold off this peloton for a long, long time. Coming up to 130 kilometers in the lead now. In fact, they've just ticked over that, 131.2 kilometers in the lead of today's stage. The longest stage of this year's Tour de France. 209.1 kilometers of racing on day number 2. All designed to just tire the legs out a little bit more.
Yes, but if you look historically, it's actually a short, longest stage.
Yeah.
And I remember some first weeks of the Tour de France where you'd have multiple 200-kilometer stages back to back. But again, because the tendency is to shorten those stages, try and make the racing a little bit more aggressive, in already a much more aggressive bunch than in that much more unexpected racing as well. Riders are not afraid to attack from far. It's much more exciting to watch cycling nowadays than it was in my decade, or decades, where it was all in that much more unexpected racing as well. Riders are not afraid to attack from far. It's much more exciting to watch cycling nowadays than it was in my decade, or decades, where it was all about being conservative. Now it's all about just going all out and see if it works or doesn't work.
Smash it all day, see what happens. Jonas Vingegaard's 400th career race day today. So over a year of racing, all in one block. onto this road. Everybody looking to just put themselves into the slipstream, into this headwind, apart from the workers who have to do their jobs on the front.
And they'll start working for position, because in a while, in about 7 kilometers, they'll take a left turn and they'll go into tailwind.
Pogačar moves right to the front of the race now in that rainbow jersey, and it looks like there's a bit of a surge going on. Marc Soler looks across. Alpecin and de Koning don't want to forfeit the lead. And the team of Soudal Quick-Step moving up on the right-hand side, the far side, as they take this turn, this all-important turn you were pointing out. Little narrow roads, got to be in a good position through there, and coming out in the lead, the team of Alpecin and de Koning. And Søren Varenskold has another problem.
Seems to be with the stem. The stem. Yeah, it's the stem.
He's very relaxed about it all, though. I think as a rider, you know when it's not your day. You just have to accept it and just go, okay, luck's not on my side right now.
There's also not much you can do.
No, he just stood there. Now he gets going again. We are not far from the intermediate sprint, 22 kilometers until we reach Hinnock, where the intermediate sprint will take place. That's for the green jersey. Before we get there, let's just think about a few more teams. Groupama FDJ United have got Guillaume Martin, Louis Askew, Cyril Bart, Romain Gregoire, Valentin Madouas, Quentin Paché, Paul Penot and Clement Rousseau. Groupama FDJ United, interesting team, but hard to work out what they might be here for.
Indeed. And I was looking about it and I was like, will they go for GC with Guillaume Martin?
Probably.
Probably. I think they'll give him a chance. Historically, they've always backed a GC team. But they've strong riders for breakaways. Again, it's one of the teams that don't have a superstar of this era in modern cycling, but a lot of good riders that are quite good climbers to be able to get into breakaways and hope for stage wins.
You've got the likes of Quentin Paché, who's always on the attack at some point in the Tour and has finished, what, in second place on the stage before. So he might have a possibility of winning a stage. Valentin Madouas on a one-day race is fantastic.
Yeah, very good in Olympics last year.
He was, wasn't he?
Romain Gregoire, also a very young, promising French rider.
Romain Gregoire, today, could it suit him?
If it wasn't the Tour, yes.
Right.
I just think the level of the top riders, I believe he'll get a result. But I think the level of the top riders are over Romain Gregoire's level at the moment. Remember, you have to compare, these riders are excellent riders, but they're racing against the Van der Poels, the Wout van Aert, the Tadej Pogačar. So yes, they are amazing riders, but it's just one step below these kind of top 5 riders in the world.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to, and everybody, Van der Poel wants another stage win in the Tour. Everybody's looking for that opportunity. They're at their very best level. Nothing has been left to chance. So the opportunity for you to try and win a stage up against them is so limited. You need everything to go perfect. So yeah, maybe Guillaume Martin going for the overall, and I would imagine Groupama with him would probably be happy with a top 10. David Gaudu was supposed to be in the team, but of course David Gaudu had to pull out of the race.
Yeah, he decided that he just wasn't in shape, and we saw him last year how he did not enjoy it, and he didn't want to go through that again. So when he decided that the training, everything didn't go right, he did everything right, he said in his interview, but it's just the feeling is not there, and he's going to refocus on the Tour of Spain.
He's been suffering for a while, hasn't he?
I'd have to say it's probably 18 months now.
Yeah. He started this season well, though. Tour of Oman, he won a stage. He started to look good, and then things went completely wrong again.
I mean, he is one of the top climbers of this peloton. So once he gets a chance and things go right for him, he is very competitive and won some brilliant stages in the various stage races of the calendar.
As we look down on this peloton with the yellow jersey, don't forget, on the shoulders of Jasper Philipsen, who took his 10th stage of the Tour de France yesterday, his 54th career win. Philipsen sitting on the wheels of his team, all sitting in front of him. Van der Poel is the rider on the white bike just in front of the yellow jersey. The yellow jersey, for those of you who just joined us, he has been resplendent all in yellow today. The only things that are not yellow, the overshoes and the helmet. The bike is yellow, the gloves are yellow, the wristband is yellow, the shorts, the jersey, everything, even the head unit, everything is there. And it is all in the perfect Pantone colour of the yellow jersey of the Tour. Still 1:38 as Alpecin-Deceuninck continue with their hard work on the front. We're going to go through the sprint, then we're going to head to the next climb of the day, which will be the second climb, and that is where things we feel will start to really shape. But Nico, this morning you were saying from about 65 kilometres, this race will now really start to shape how it concludes.
Well, that's one of the danger spots that I've noted, where most likely the sports directors will say, all right, everybody, 65k to go. We're going to take a right-hand turn and go much more into exposed area. A lot more, again, these little villages like we've seen that the peloton went through today. Lots of those coming later on. There's 6 villages in 10 kilometers. So they're villages, they're not big towns, but you have the road furniture we talked about yesterday as well, the narrowing, those are the chicanes that they put to cut the speed, a few of those speed bumps, the little ramps they've done there as well in a lot of the villages here. And you just have to be cautious. Plus, again, we're going to go slightly more into the crosswind and then get through the intermediate sprint and then quickly into the first one of the final 3 climbs. I don't want to say 4 because the finishing climb is it's going to be the most important one.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no points for the KOMs on the finish.
No bonus seconds as well in the sprint, and no bonus seconds at all in this Tour de France at the sprints. As we get our first big look at a church of the day. That church, St. Peter Church, sorry, the St. Firmin Church, built in the 13th and 14th centuries. The Alpecin-Deceuninck team have had to ride all day today. We just went through the little town of Sempi, 330 people live there. We're heading down to Exon-Issart with a population of 270, and then down to Neuville-sous-Montreux. We've just gone out of Exon-Issart, climbing out of there, little population of 270 people, and then up towards the next town before we head towards Enoch, where we'll have the intermediate sprint, which is not too far away. Enoch itself is only a little commune just outside Bhutan with a population of 440 people. There's 2 little villages around there, about 2 kilometers apart, and we go through that sprint and we head down to where we'll see the port of Étaples, and then we start to get towards Le Touquet, which has got that famous little airport that many of the little planes fly into, and was very important during the Second World War, where it was occupied by the Germans. Le Touquet, one of those areas where we're going to head to soon.
Very famous for its beach, and I think it's a motocross race or a motorbike race that's very, very famous in France, the Plage du Touquet.
When we get to there, we're heading towards the Opal coast, aren't we? 120 kilometers of the coast is going to be visible, with the cliffs, the dunes, the marshes, the estuaries, all facing the southeast of England, bordering the North Sea and the English Channel.
You're almost looking at home. You're on that side of the Atlantic.
Pretty
as well.
much. I did say last night when we were driving, just nip home.
I mean, we did pass in front of the train station in Calais for the Earth Snow. Another 5 kilometers before in that direction before the riders will go to the town. heading towards the sprint and the coast.
At 37 seconds. Is the peloton just holding this now and kind of toying with the breakaway? It kind of gets a feeling that they are.
At this moment, yes. We're still 70k to go. There's no interest in catching the break. So every surge we're going to see is only for positioning at this moment. Once we're going to get close to that third category, the Côte au Pichot, then obviously the things are going to get a bit more complicated and it will be positioning for the actual climb. But now it's just about positioning to stay safe. But it's so important to commit and use some riders at these key moments.
Quite often we say that 10 kilometers to go in a bunch sprint is the key point where the race comes back together and the bunch sprint gets set up. But that's not the case today. Do you see that the peloton will really surge and bring this race back together at another point?
I think the way cycling has changed, they're not planning and not racing on the breakaway. At the moment, they're maintaining the breakaway, but more than anything, they're managing their own speed. So for the first part of the race, yes, it was like keep the breakaway between 2 and 3 minutes. And now in this part of the final is they're kind of pacing themselves to be ready for when the final comes. And then the race will happen and the race will shape itself from behind. And in minute 30, once the race is on in the back, the 4 riders who've been away all day long on the longest stage of the Tour de France, unfortunately, that time's going to melt really rapidly. So at the moment, they're not really planning to catch the breakaway. They will catch a breakaway just by racing.
Because 1.5 minutes, whilst for mere mortals, when we look and think, there's no way I could jump across 1.5 minutes, for these riders, it's no major problem, is it?
Well, it's not jumping across 1.5 minutes on your own. That would be a totally different trial and challenge. This is about the speed of the peloton, riders drag racing each other. So it's multiple riders riding together, and as you can see, half-wheeling each other to protect and to put your team leader as much as possible. So at the moment, they're not looking at what's happening in the front. They're getting ready because they're going to turn right in a while going through this town, and they know there's a change of direction, and all they're thinking about is putting their leader in the best position around that corner. And obviously by doing that, the speed goes up.
A reminder of the riders in the breakaway. Fedorov at the front, the Kazakh champion, covered in mud after his crash in the wet conditions earlier on. Brent Van Moor goes through. Brent Van Moor, very well known for almost winning a bike race before he got his first victory. And as he came into a town as a solo leader, as a pro bike rider riding for Lotto, he was sent completely the wrong way by a marshal and ended up losing the race. So then he ended up taking his first victory a few weeks later, having experienced that, and it was nailed on. He was riding in solo, completely no one ahead, no one near him, and he rode in and then was turned completely the wrong way by the marshal. 1:29. On the front is Leknessund, the Norwegian champion. He will want to get to the climb at 29.8 kilometers to go. We'll reach there at 30.9 kilometers of racing to go, and he'll want to get up that, take the 2 points. That will put him as the virtual king of the mountains. He could do with getting over the next climb, because before the finish there are 3 points on offer after the next climb. So he really needs to try and get himself to that point on today's stage. But you wonder whether that's going to be a chance, because you can start to see more teams starting to move up towards the front and get themselves interested. Now the team of Soudal Quickstep are bringing their riders forward, with Tim Merlier looking after Remco Evenepoel. Anthony Turgis is there in the green jersey. He moves up as well. He's one of the 4 jersey wearers. Philipsen in yellow, Turgis in green, Benjamin Thomas in the King of the Mountains, and Biniam Girmay, who we haven't really seen today, Biniam Girmay, except on the start line in the white jersey as best young rider.
There he is now. Everyone's getting ready for this intermediate sprint. That's going to come very quickly.
Only 12 kilometers to go now to the intermediate sprint. And Nico, because we're not on as wide roads as yesterday, the teams have got to get there a bit earlier, I guess.
Yes, exactly, and this is why some of the sprinters' teams were fighting for position to get there earlier, because there's no room. The peloton is very compact, and it's hard to... You can get 1 or 2 riders around, but you can't get the full team.
Just a glimpse there of Simon Yates.
It's good to see Turgis going to try and go for the jersey as well. Green jersey.
Yeah, Turgis is mixing it up, isn't he? Finished 4th on the stage yesterday.
Look at that for camera technique, taking photos backwards.
I hadn't noticed that until you pointed it out.
Yeah, because obviously now they can't sit backwards on the motorbike.
No,
so,
not allowed, are they?
Well, he's mastered this new rules and regulations. I mean, it's already quite some years, but
also making sure the lens is long enough to get past his left ear. 132 is the advantage. We've caught a glimpse earlier of Wout van Aert. There's Valentin Madouas, who we were talking about just a few minutes ago. The team of Wiesmann Lease Bike go up alongside him, and Wout van Aert was one of them. We're going to hear now from Wout van Aert on his thoughts.
Local cattle herds, which are 5 stars. We saw actually earlier on in the coverage an almighty bull, I don't know if you were watching the live coverage earlier on, being seemingly transported on the back of a cart at what looked like a wedding in the middle of a field. It was one of the more bizarre roadside sights of the Tour de France. Did you notice that?
I did notice that, but I
didn't know what to say about it, really, did you?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do with it.
Carlos Rodriguez. He's had a modest year, Carlos Rodriguez, former stage winner, of course, at the Tour de France. The general... Carlos Rodriguez. He's had a modest year, Carlos Rodriguez, former stage winner, of course, at the Tour de France. The general... in that group, along with Lipovitz, etc.
Yeah, and I still think that one of the rides from yesterday that was so important was Sam Watson. I think that was an incredible ride from him. Sam Watson, who was called up to the Tour de France only 2 days before, and yet was the only Ineos Grenadiers rider in that group of 37 yesterday.
Well, this is a Carthusian monastery. It's the biggest one in France. It was attacked by the Imperial Army and Huguenot forces. They, though, in this monastery, specialised in developing printing and assembled an enormous library. They are the Carthusian monks, known for their solitude and silence and the vows they take, and they're singing at... assembled an enormous library. They are the Carthusian monks, known for their solitude and silence and the vows they take, and they're singing at... it's a mint-flavoured liqueur or something like that?
Very green, very strong.
Green and very strong. So a few more cobbles to contend with on this little uncategorised climb now, as they head into Montreuil-sur-Mer. Which, if you were with us a little bit earlier on in the day, I was explaining is one of the big landmark locations of the amazing story Les Miserables, written by Victor Hugo. It's here that Jean Valjean reinvents himself, the escaped convict, takes on a false identity, makes millions and millions of francs, and opens a factory in Montreuil-sur-Mer that manufactures glass beads, but he puts it all to good use, and it's a kind of model factory. He looks after his workers. Here's the old citadel of Montreuil-sur-Mer. which was raided and destroyed by Charles V in 1537. And the fortifications, actually, these fortifications were built after Charles V basically laid waste to Montreuil-sur-Mer. So fictional history and very real history abound as we make our way towards this finish in Boulogne-sur-Mer. The time gaps come right down, David, just 51 seconds now with 62.4k to go. They could be caught before the sprint, you know.
Yeah, and it's, again, this is why it was interesting to see Intermarché want to almost control that breakaway in the first half of the race, fully aware that come the second half, it would actually be the positioning of the GC teams and the general momentum and nervousness of the peloton that would do the rest of the job for them. And that is generally how we're seeing racing happen more and more now. As the pressure is so high towards the end of the race, it's simple positioning that is actually dragging the speed up and killing the chances of any breakaway.
Yeah, and they've got 10 kilometres, or just about 10 kilometres to go until, a little bit less actually, 8 kilometres to go until the intermediate sprint. So there is potentially time to bring this back.
Yeah, and I think it's looking likely at the moment. We'll see, because I think all the riders who are interested in those green jersey points, they're also interested in the win.
Yeah.
Irmay in particular, so they won't want to use up any of their team to actually close that gap down. So it could be a simple case of them all be quite satisfied for the highest points to go to these 4 riders.
Yeah, you need one team where they don't really fancy their sprinters' chances of actually featuring at the finish line to really take it up and shut them down at this point. But look, time gap's still coming down, 47 seconds. And Leknesund, soft front tyre, is it?
Not sure, but there's really has been a series of unfortunate incidents for this breakaway today. Crashes, mechanicals, it's not been made easy for them.
It's another technical little corner there with that traffic island disrupting things on that sweeping right-hander. Quite a long peloton, it's all stretched out, and the riders towards the back there suffering from that whiplash effect and having to push hard out of the corner. But yeah, as you can see, no one team is really taking this on.
And even Alpecin-Deceuninck now pulled slightly back. It is the GC teams of Soudal Quick-Step and UAE who really are at the fore.
That's our Premier Tech rider.
So Ackermann, bike change.
Had an interesting sprint yesterday, just went a little bit too early, Pascal Ackermann. And when I say a little bit too early, I mean quite a lot too early. Had us slightly fooled as well. We thought it's quite hard to judge from the television pictures exactly where the finish line was. And for a while it looked like Ackermann had the win, but yeah, then it was revealed that he'd just opened up his sprint, perhaps a little bit too exposed too early, and bit off more than he could chew with that sprint, and was swamped.
Well, it might have had us fooled, but it also had Sam Bewley, the director sportif, fooled in the car as well, because saw on their social media that they were convinced he was going for the win as well, and then the camera switched and they realised that actually there was another 150 metres to go.
Quinn Simmons is on the radio there, the American national champion, and I wonder whether he is asking that question of what do we do? We're holding this at 41 seconds. Are we riding this down, or are we just holding them in that gap? That strikes me to be the question he might well be asking on the radio, because it's in that hovering in that space where it's still just about possible.
And with Filippo Trek, their sprinter, Milan, I don't think has any chance of being up there for the win today at the finish, so why not try and get maximum points here?
So that's what looks like is happening now. Quinn Simmons is starting to ride UAE Team Emirates, and that'll just generate interest in and of itself, because if one team starts to accelerate, others will accelerate, and then you'll get this virtuous circle of ever-increasing speed. So 59.6k to go. They have got about 5.5 kilometres to shut this group down.
And you saw the neutral service car pull out there, that blue car, that would have been held there with, if the third gap was 30 seconds, so clearly they're seeing that the peloton is approaching fast.
There we go, there's the Lotto car.
Going,
Fedorov has already been down once on the grass and keeping it up this time. Little adrenaline dump there for the Kazakh rider. 36 seconds, 35 seconds. Kilometres are running out a little bit though. There's no more than about 4.5k to go.
Yeah, it has to be an all-in chase from Lidl Trek to try and bring back these riders before the sprint.
This is us going over Le Marais. We're heading down towards the Conches Basin, stretching from Magny-Cours-sur-Conches to Étape. It's a nature reserve. Quinn Simmons has done so much work today. Him and Sylvain Dillier on the front all the time as Simmons gets out the saddle just to accelerate a little bit more to take the team into this right-hand turn. Team radio of Intermarché.
Yeah, Bini has now a good position with Rex, and okay, we keep it that way. But maybe on a bigger road, we can try to make the move to come to Bini.
Well, that answers what you were saying. I haven't seen much of Intermarché, and the sports director is not panicking, but he's nicely saying, okay, you need to move up. Go help your team leader today. There's 3 riders now around him. Well, just behind him, actually.
Yeah, so they've said try and come to him, but he's basically freelancing, isn't he?
He is. He's on the wheel of Tadej Pogačar. He's got Milan. And kind of use their train.
Whoa, 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 that's a bit of road furniture, isn't it? A little bit of a chicane just before the sprint. Everybody's safely through by the looks of things. One thing that you notice with Biniam Girmay is when you see him from the front, he looks so chilled out at this speed. He's not worried. 3K to the sprint, so things are right in terms of the data now. But he doesn't look at all worried. He just looks so cool, calm, collected, even at this speed with this stress of coming up to a green jersey sprint.
Yeah, you're totally right. Even in the sprint, you see he never really panics. He's in it or he isn't. But
yeah.
There's not much, even when he's on the wheel, it seems that he's capable of keeping his calm.
Over the little bridge. And another left-hand turn. And it's so noticeable how this course is changing now with the twists, the turns, the lefts, the rights, much more frequently than we had before, which is what you've been saying throughout the race, that this last 60 kilometres is where things really will play out.
There they are, they're all together now. He's got 2 lead-outs, man, just right on the wheel there of Tim Wellens.
We're almost getting the same scenario of yesterday where things are going to come back together and then we might have to have a reset of more attacks coming as Bruno Amirai tries to keep this breakaway going towards the intermediate sprint and get there and sprint for the 20 points. But what is going to be disappointing for Leknesund is the points for the King of the Mountains unless he can go on the attack again. You see the regulator in the red jacket just waving these motorbikes forward and just saying, look, please, you need to give a little bit more room. That job on the back of that motorbike, as we get to 1 kilometre to go, is so important. To just regulate the traffic, make sure everything is moving. Never let the race be caught out by motorbikes and cars being in the wrong place. They are the ones who tell you you can be there or you can't be there. 31 seconds. It looks like, Nico, they're going to get there.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to get there. Still about 700 meters to go. Yeah, it looks safe enough for them. But the gap has really gone down over minutes in, well, about 7 or 8 kilometers.
So Bruno Amirai does a big turn on the front. Brent Van Moor is in second place. Fedorov is in third. Behind them, Andreas Leknesund. Leknesund has already taken the King of the Mountains points today. He looks like he wants to win this sprint as well. He's already out the saddle on the drops, getting himself focused, getting ready. There's a reminder of the points on the right-hand side of the screen. Bruno Amarai, no surprise, goes very, very early for this intermediate sprint, but he's only 100 metres away now. Brent Van Moor goes through the middle. It's going to be a photo finish, but it's going to be Fedorov who sneaks ahead. He takes the points ahead of Leknesund, ahead of Van Moor, ahead of Bruno Amirai. But here comes the bunch sprint just behind Jonathan Milan and Biniam Girmay going shoulder to shoulder. And the yellow jersey comes through as well. And so does Tim Merlier. Whoa, there's a big fight here. Milan and Girmay, a massive argument.
Yeah, Milan is not happy at all there with whatever happened. We didn't see it.
Well, I think Merlier might have won the points, but a big fight between Milan and Girmay. Milan is really upset, but I don't know what about.
And now we have a different race getting towards the second part of the race. So we were looking at the intermediate sprint, and that's where a team like Little Trek got interested. And once again, we're coming into the real final. And over there, you see the bunch is coming very quickly behind him. And it's Tim Wellens with Tadej Pogačar. The inside, because he said, seemed to say you're crazy by the way he was hitting his head.
Brian Coquard also having a go behind the rider from Groupama FDJ United. And Ishak said Paul Penouet and Coquard having a proper argument too.
And then it seemed that Turgis was agreeing with Ivan Milan because he gives him a little tap, saying, yeah, you're right.
Interesting. Jonathan Milan, when you speak to him, is one of the most quietly spoken people you will meet. And until you put him on a bike, and he completely changes.
Yeah, sprinters are very much like that.
Confirmation then that it was Milan who took those points, just ahead, I think, of Merlier. Looked like Merlier closed on the other side. So Fedorov takes the 20. It's Milan who wins the bunch sprint ahead of Merlier, Girmay, Philipsen and Turgis. But Brian Coquard not happy. We are... Now, peloton all together with 51.9 kilometers to go. There's a bit of an acceleration of all of the teams. Oh, problem for... Hands that one in.
It's like, why did riders throw bottles away before? You could use them to stay hanging onto the car a bit more. Take one and give one back. But you can see now the fighting for position in the front. It's gone serious. Battling for every roundabout to stay in the front.
Oh, bounce it over that roundabout. Tadej Pogačar having to do a little bunny hop. It suddenly got very, very serious. Right-hand side, Uno X Mobility. Left-hand side, Wiesmann Lease bike with Jonas Vingegaard.
Who likes to sit in second wheel, which most riders like to sit in third wheel, but just really wants to be in that front position.
20 kilometers until we reach the next climb of the day.
And again, now this is a little bit where we're talking about lots of road furniture, lots of small towns. It will open up now in between the Étaples-sur-Mer all the way till we go into the climb. Once we get out of this village. And the wind is slightly to the back on this part. The road is going back inland, northwest. Tadej Pogačar just there in the middle, trying to make it back to the wheel of Tim Wellens. He's running in the front with Almeida on the wheel. And you could just see today the teams are a lot more focused than yesterday. Yesterday, we saw 1 or 2 teams that were laid back. Whoa, that's a bit wide there for Tim Wellens. Alpecin de Koenig straight away looking behind. Yes, Philipsen is on the wheel. Mathieu van der Poel, an extremely good position. Almeida on the wheel. And Danny van Poppel with his Dutch champion jersey. Jordi Meus on the wheel. Roglic looking very cool. Oh, another mechanical. Try and get back as soon as possible. Still has a bit of time. He was cut up yesterday. He was in that second group. Now it's about holding position. You see again there Vingegaard in the middle with his red helmet. Almeida glued to the wheel of Tim Wellens. Catanao there in the front. But he hasn't got... There's no sign of Remco Evenepoel. Remco Evenepoel should be on his wheel. He's riding alone there. Probably thinks Remco's behind him. Alpecin de Koenig looking very good on the left-hand side. Roglic at the front, Lipovic just behind him. That's on the right-hand side of the screen with the new jersey from Bora Hansgrohe. Philipsen and Van der Poel having a bit of a talk there. See the arms on the radio talking. That's the brake man of the breakaway. Now sitting at the back of the peloton. He's going to try and make it, well, in an easier way. You kind of want to hang in the peloton as much as you can. But once we hit those climbs, I think he will just sit up and make it and try and recover for the next few stages. Maybe get in another breakaway. You could just see how the wind is still strong, around 25, 26 kilometers per hour. Coming from the left mainly. Or Schmidt, he's been there for the last 2 days. He's really, really waiting for the mountains. Doesn't want to take any risks, doesn't want to get involved in the fighting for position. And as you can see, a lot of riders now are throwing away their litter. This is one of the zones, the litter zones that the Tour de France has. Nico Storer, also one of the riders who likes to stay at the back now. All these riders are waiting for the mountains. Sepp Kuss there on the right-hand side as well. Jorgensen. With Vingegaard on the wheel. Mathieu van der Poel. Oh, there's another crash. Just see now it's getting very tensed.
Riders are just, yeah, getting tense, aren't they? And there's not much room on the road. And all the sports directors, as you've heard on the radio, just want them to be at the front. Yeah, so difficult, isn't it?
It's very difficult. And again, there's only so much room, and there's a lot of teams and a lot of sports directors telling their riders that they need to be in the front, that they cannot be in the back.
Nico, before we get to the next climb of the day, with things being a little bit tense and the peloton almost at dinner time, let's quickly go through your menu of the day.
I thought you'd forgotten about it.
No, I would never forget.
So let's start with La Guinée. So La Guinée is a fish and a vegetable and onion stew. Obviously you need a little bit of cream. We're here in the north, it gets cold as well. And it's very similar if you know about the southern of France Marseillaise bouillabaisse. You see the sprint again.
Still don't know why they're fighting.
It must have been for before that corner on the bend.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a close sprint.
So did Milan get that?
Yeah, they said Milan.
They said, didn't they? But wow, that's why I thought Malia closed really fast on this side, but Milan just gets it in the middle.
So La Guinée is a bit like a little soup with fish, veggies, onion, and a bit of fresh cream on top of that.
We're just going to take a little look back. There's a lot of fighting going on. We're going to come back to your main course in a second. In Milan, it's very rare that you see Biniam Girmay get upset like that as well. We're just going to take a look back for those of you just joining us. Then we'll go with Nico's next course, and then we'll bring you into the race finish. Look back for those of you just joining us. Then we'll go with Nico's next course, and then we'll bring you into the race finish. Stage 2 of the Tour de France from look back for those of you just joining us. Then we'll go with Nico's next course, and then we'll bring you into the race finish. Stage 2 of the Tour de France from Louvain-Planck to Boulogne-sur-Mer. 209.1 kilometres of racing. Started in the pouring rain with terrible weather conditions. Leknesson, Fedorov, Brent Van Moor and Bruno Amirai went clear right at the race start. Fedorov and Leknesson crashed as they went into one of the towns on the slick, wet roads in the breakaway. Yet again, 2 riders crash. At the first climb of the day, there was a real fight. Leknesson managed to secure the maximum points out of I wouldn't have the cream in it, but the fish sounds good.
Yeah, that first one looked pretty nice. The next one is La Salaison de Fumaison, and that's haddock or salmon is salted and smoked, and apparently it needs to be done in the port in a very traditional way. So there's one port on the coast just outside of Boulogne-sur-Mer that would do it, and it's haddock and salmon. They salt it in the crust and then smoke it. And they're very proud that it's part of that port. When I was reading the report, it's like, yes, it has to be done in the port to be called La Salaison de Fumaison. One of them, another dish, is called Le Welsh. And yes, it is...
I've heard about this, the Welsh.
And it was very popular in Wales, actually, but apparently it's kind of disappeared from the British cuisine, but stayed a very proud dish from this area. So it's cheddar on bread, dipped in beer, and all baked in the oven, served with fries, obviously.
Obviously. Has to be with beer and has to be with fries.
And then, well, what I had last night, I had the mussels.
Yep.
Mussels with a bit of cream.
Lots of you had mussels last night, didn't you?
Yep.
Around the table.
And so that's one of the local dishes around here as well. In terms of desserts, well, we have a tart called tarte à la bibouli, and that's a tart that has a bit of a big crust, so kind of a bit like a quiche crust, but it has a brioche in the center and is made usually with eggs, sugar, milk, vanilla, and you can add a bit of prunes.
Oh, really?
In terms of cheese, I was surprised to know that they have their own type of camembert, because I thought camembert was one of those cheese that only came from Camembert, which is where we're going in a few days' time, or close enough in a few days' time. So I'll be coming back about the camembert, but I have a similar cheese than the camembert here.
So our cake of the day is the what? The tart?
Tarte à la libouli.
That sounds good.
Yeah, looks good too. And actually today I had one of those sugar tarts with Luis Angel. He took it and he made me try that.
Really?
We were talking about yesterday.
And where did he deliver ours to?
Yes, well,
he had learn this stuff.
He had it in the Boulangerie where we had breakfast this morning.
Okay, Luis Angel Marte is with us. He's of course ridden 6 Tours as well and many welters, and he's new to the team, and he obviously doesn't realise that when you buy cake, there's more buying to be done, because we have to taste the local delicacy.
Yes, I'm surprised no one's got us. Well, the editing team is not here anymore with us, so we can't get our surprise cakes that we had a few times.
So we need to lay the foundations for 21 stages. Well, we've got 19 left after this.
The message is out.
The message is out, and make sure that it gets sorted out. By the time we get to Paris, if we've not had cake or biscuits in this commentary box, that's not good. 59 kilometers an hour. Downhill, 64. It's going to get rapid. Here's the team radio of Arkea.
Donc parfait, le placement a été bien fait les gars, donc on continue. Et pour l'instant on n'a pas fait d'erreur, donc confiance en nous et on va faire une belle fin d'étape.
So the Arkea team looking good. They've got Vauquelin for today, but Adam Yates has got a problem. Adam Yates having to stop really quickly at the side of the road, looking for the team car. Don't know what's happened there, but he's he's not happy with that front wheel at all. Parks the Colnago, and he's looking for a new one.
It's always delicate there because there's not much space on the room, and you can see the cameraman being on the left, and I think this is why the cars were beeping, because the cars are flying down at 60 km per hour between a rider, a car, and a camera motorbike on the left-hand side of the road.
Yeah, there's no space. So Adam Yates back up and running very, very quickly. It is quite amazing when you are in the middle of the Tour de France, as we look at the coast, the Opel coast, how quickly bike changes take place. Considering a rider is flat out downhill, heading towards, you know, the bottom of a descent, calls on the radio. We hear it on Radio Tour that they say Adam Yates needs a bike, and literally a split second later, the team car is there, he's had a bike change and he's underway.
Yeah, and that was a slow one. Earlier on, Hackerman was a lot quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so impressive.
It was also funny because it didn't seem like it was a puncture, although he did check the pressure and then turned the bike around. So it must have been soft enough for him not to be able to roll on it, because or else he'd be rolling until the team car would get behind you and not literally just stop. And we've seen a lot of the riders now just literally stop, but I think also now that the riders are using tubeless, you can't really ride on a flat tubeless, where before when you had tubulars, you could still run, especially if it was a rear wheel, you could go quite a bit on a flat, it wouldn't be great for the rim, you'd hear the rim bouncing all over the place, but you could actually ride it. Now on the tubeless, you would be so afraid that the tire would actually take off from the rim. So this is why you see...
That's why they don't ride on it.
That's why they don't ride it, and moreover, if it's a front wheel, because a rear wheel, it's dangerous, but you could always save it. The front wheel, there's no way saving it, and I don't know actually if you remember a couple of years ago, Tadej had thankfully it was a slow crash from a puncture on the tubeless on the front wheel. The tire didn't come off at that point, but it can come off.
They don't have any sealant in the tyre, do they?
They do. In the tubeless, yes. And again, depends on the teams, because apparently, and that was a discussion that I had always with some of the mechanics and the performance director, some teams believe that the tubeless, obviously it's a little bit heavier, so you're putting in a few grams in, but also makes the wheel less efficient. So it wasn't about just the weight, it was also about the efficiency. I'm not quite sure about that on my personal experience. I don't have the data, but I always said, yeah, but I prefer to have 10 grams more on my front wheel and lose 2 watts over the whole course of the day and still have my teeth at the end of the day if I have a front wheel puncture.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I remember back then it was with Team Sky, and it took them a long time before they started putting sealants in, and that was tubulars, it wasn't tubeless.
Oh, really? Okay, so they put the sealant in the tubulars as well?
Yes.
Makes sense. We look across here at Le Touquet. Population of 4,230 people. Established as a little commune in 1912. There was a lot of building went on around that time. Several luxurious hotels, 2 large casinos, number of sports facilities. The casino became one of the largest in Europe and the largest in France in 1927. Famous, of course, though, for the wrong reasons. So we just look there at the fantastic sight of the kite surfers enjoying the winds there on the beach. And we're looking there at the Bay of the Conche, 504 hectares, facing England. Oh, the Touquet Beach, 40 kilometres an hour now. The peloton, a bit calm for a little while. Adam Yates, 30 seconds behind.
And at Touquet Beach, where the race celebrated its 50th anniversary this year. And that has 600,000 spectators that come and see this enduro sand beach race.
It's a motorbike race on the
It's a motorbike race, yeah. Running since 1975.
Wow. I can imagine that'd be an incredible sight to see. Down on that beach, you've also got the beach huts, all multicoloured. What a great place to come. During the the First World War, there was a camp built there, down towards the bay at Etaples, where we've just been racing through, with a capacity of 80,000 people, set up by the British to train English-speaking soldiers before they sent them to the war front. The war front. Coming back into the race, Adam Yates. Looks a lot better than he did yesterday. Adam Yates as he rejoins in that familiar style, massive gear. Knees very slightly out, rolling over a gear and almost weight training his way up the climb.
A very particular style. Knows a lot lower cadence.
It's very efficient, isn't it? You tend to ride like that as well.
Yeah, I ride very similar to.
Yeah.
Not as fast as Yates. I wish I did, but a very similar style. Also getting out of the saddle, long time out of the saddle.
Why do you find you, Adam, Simon's quite similar? Why do you find that more efficient? Or is it just the way you feel comfortable riding?
Just to feel the way I felt comfortable riding, indeed. It's quite different, for example, in the cleats position, because his cleats are actually quite further back, which is weird for someone who spends a lot of time out of the saddle. Normally, when your cleats are further back on the shoe, it's easier actually to get high cadence in like a similar piston way, where when your cleats are a little bit forward on the shoe, you have more the old school round pedaling stroke rather than this kind of up and down piston way with high cadence. So it was easier to get over the bigger gears, but you can see now obviously with lighter gears, riders are getting used to sitting down a lot more and using high cadence to accelerate rather than putting in extra gear.
But when you go and normally have a bike fit, or you buy a bike for the first time, or you get cleats for the first time, everyone says just put them in the middle of your big bone.
The bone is...
Right, yeah. But you're saying that the pros would move their cleats back or forward depending on their style?
Depending on style or where the power is transmitted.
So if you're an Adam Yates style rider, he's got them back. You normally have them forward? Or?
I had them at almost all the way forward.
Okay. Because that means you can get a bigger gear over.
No, it was just, it's where the power is transmitted on my foot. I just felt that when I was getting out of the saddle, there was a lot more power on like the toes rather than the more middle part of the foot.
37 kilometers to go. The next climb of the day is not far away now. We're only about 7 kilometers, not even 7 kilometers, 6.3 from the bottom of this next climb. Nico, this next climb is not easy, is it? The average gradient's 9.4%. Yes,
it's short, but definitely not sweet. And that's going to be a little bit how the climbs into the final are today. 1.1 kilometer at 9%, and it doesn't go down on top. You still stay a little bit on the plateau before going down into the town of Samir. You have a 5k flatter road, and then you're into the final 2 climbs. 1 kilometer at 10%, but that's also, you will see it later on, is actually 800 meters at 15%. It's because it flattens up on the top, that where the KOM is on the flatter part. But the reality is, it's not really 1k at 10, it's 800 meters at 15.
Wow.
And actually it's quite nice. Well, not nice, but this morning when we went up it, there was a big signpost saying with the actual gradients and how many meters was left. Obviously there was no fans and nothing was set up, so we had time to look at the scenery. I don't think they'll be looking at the scenery and even notice that there is a signpost today.
There's bound to be a lot of action in these final 36 kilometers of racing, because there is a stage of the Tour de France up for grabs.
Yellow jersey up for grabs.
Remember that Jasper Philipsen is the leader of this Tour de France with an advantage of 4 seconds on Biniam Girmay. Soren Varenskold at 6 seconds, Anthony Turgis at 10. A list of riders at 10 seconds who've all got a chance of taking this yellow jersey at the end, because there are 10 seconds of a time bonus on the finish line, 10, 6 and 4. Look at that flag, the way it's sticking out there. And Nico, now, as you've been saying all the way through this stage, the top of these climbs are quite exposed at times.
Yes, they are, and there's very little forest area now. It's all, if you look at a map, the old school maps, it'd be all the white. Five kilometers to go till we hit the bottom. Well, 4 kilometers, excuse me, that we hit the bottom of Côte du Haut-Pichon.
Yellow helmet, those riders on the front.
Sivakov on the front for UAE. He's been doing a lot of work these first 2 days as well. So it's his job here to try and set everything up. Tim Wellens, who did such a fantastic job, almost bodyguarding Tadej Pogacar yesterday, will be in that role today, because he is a rider who can handle himself not only in the heat of the race, but on a finish like today, he's in his element. So I'm pretty sure they'll be hoping to conserve Wellens until that final kilometre.
Well, Sivakov has Jonathan Narvaez, the Ecuadorian national champion, on his wheel, and then Tim Wellens, as you were saying. Then Tadej Pogacar, and on his wheel, just back-marking him, Joao Almeida, who's one of the UAE Team Emirates riders who lost out a little bit yesterday in terms of GC. He's dropped time. Remco Evenepoel being shepherded by Bert van Leerberger on the right-hand side of the road, and at the back, Velasco from Astana, XDS, not sure actually, or Tejada possibly. I think it's Harold Tejada, the climber.
It's an unfortunate time to have an issue.
My mistake. Yep.
So the pace really is lifting up there.
Well, not long to go now until they hit this climb. 30.9 kilometres to go. That's when it starts. So only 2 and a bit kilometres. Champoussin with work to do, because they are starting to motor towards the foot of this climb, which is a proper, if you like, a one-day classics Moor. It's short and it's British rider in the red and blue of Israel Premier Tech with those white helmets in the middle of the road. He's got 2 riders in front of him. And I don't think today is a finish that will remotely suit Pascal Ackermann, but you know what, it could suit Jake Stewart.
Yeah, it really could. These are the sort of finishes.
This 3/4 tailwind just leaving loads of gaps at the back, isn't it?
Yes, it's extremely fast, 65k an hour. And you can just see the terrain going slightly down before starting the KOM.
A real surge at the front. The train's there on the left-hand side. Wiesma with Wout van Aert. Flat out to get into the wheels. He moves up on the right-hand side with Mathieu van der Poel, and just in front of him the rest of his team.
This is where it's very important to be in the front. This is the corner that will take you into the climb. Sharp right.
Big right-hand turn. They close off that corner, and Wiesma are the team who come out in front. 30.9 kilometers to go. This is a key point of today's stage. The gendarmes didn't realize that the riders were there already, having to get out the way very quickly onto the climb. Nico, you have to get this climb right, don't you, for the end of this stage?
Yes, you have to get this climb right, stay in position. These last 30 kilometers are going to absolutely fly by. There's a little bit of flat in between this climb and the next one. There's 3 or 4 kilometers where you will be able to move back into position, but that's about it. Smaller roads, narrow roads. Wow, you could just see someone lost a head unit. And that was Milan who was still hanging in there.
He's doing well to hang in there.
Philipsen as well, on the wheel of Mathieu van der Poel.
Lewis Askey is also up there for the team of Groupama FDJ United. Askey is a punchy rider. He could get himself into a good position here. He might have been given the nod, try and go for the stage win. Wellens with Vingegaard. Vingegaard is riding so aggressively in this race, always at the front, refusing to let Pogačar do what he needs to do. He's taking the position of where Pogačar would want to be. Vingegaard looks comfortable. Behind them is Jorgensen. And a crash. Milan has had a tumble again, so has Geraint Thomas. The flares going off. If you come to a bike race, please don't have flares, because the riders
and please don't run beside them either.
No, exactly. We've waited all day, and you've waited all day, but please don't, because you'll end up tripping over or something. So it's Hirschi up towards the front. Michael Woods is also there. Moving up where is Roglic? Roglic is there, just tucked in on the wheel of his teammate. But where is Remco Evenepoel?
Philipsen doing a great climb. Right there at the front with Mathieu van der Poel.
I can see Ilan van Wilder, but I can't see Remco alongside him. He would normally be there. Roglic in good position. They're literally going to just go flying over the top, not worry about the points, although Pogačar looks like he might think about it. Him and Vingegaard go shoulder to shoulder, and Wellens takes the points.
And the bunch is extremely stretched out, just under the pressure of Tim Wellens, who did a great climb. He out-climbed Wout van Aert, who was doing the tempo. He was like, no, we need to go a little bit more, stay really in the front. And there's a bit of a gap, about 30 riders.
Yeah, big gap at the front of this race now. Wellens, Pogačar, Vingegaard, Jorgensen, and Narvaez is also there. Van Poppel has been dropped. This is the group behind. He's done his work for the day. There's Fedorov, who was in the breakaway. These are the riders who've done their work, and now it's all about the riders at the front. There's about maybe 40 riders that have emerged, and we'll get a glimpse of who is in this group of riders. The next climb of the day is at 9.7 kilometers. Nico, the splits happened. Look at that. Yet again, same situation as yesterday, but actually
teammates around him. So this is the front group. There's a yellow jersey, safe and sound.
Yeah, a very good ride from Jasper Philipsen.
Well, Van Aert slipped back, but he stayed in that group.
3 riders from Cofidis there, good showing from them.
You're right, no sign of Remco Evenepoel. We haven't caught a glimpse of him yet there.
Well, we haven't seen him, but we haven't not seen him, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So let's just hold our horses to see where those Soudal Quick-Step riders are as we look down the Chateau of Ardelot.
Well, if Remco Evenepoel isn't there, it's going to be hugely disappointing. It's Victor Campenaerts that takes control.
Oh, he's there, I think. I think I caught a glimpse of that golden helmet towards the back. Still slightly frustratingly, we haven't managed to confirm whether or not he is. Yeah, he is.
He's right there.
So alarm bells were ringing a little bit there for Remco Evenepoel, but he's okay. He's made that selection.
So Wout van Aert back on the front, Visma Lease bike, taking control of the group again. Then Tim Wellens, it's UAE and Visma Lease bike who are basically toying with this group at the moment.
It's a kind of descent off this climb in steps. It doesn't immediately go down. There's a little bit of a plateau that they're on now, and then it'll drop again for a couple of kilometres, level out, and then eventually we'll hit the next Cat 3 climb, the Côte de Saint-Étienne-au-Mont, but that begins just inside 10 kilometres to go. As that second group, containing the white jersey, Biniam Girmay, and a lot of the other contenders, they come back. And it looks like it's going to settle down again. And potentially even that group of riders who were dropped at this point will get back on. There they are. Well, I think that's a sign of some things to come, because we've still got 2 severe climbs to go before the finish line and the uphill approach to that finish line in Boulogne. So that was the opening salvos, the big battle still to come.
It's a little more rugged out there today. Every ride.
Just to go.
Yes, now it's all about, again, keeping that position. Next climb is at 8 kilometers to go. So they have a bit of time now for fueling. You can see everyone's putting their hands in the pockets. Whoop, a little bit of a touch there in the back of wheels. Someone went in the field from EF. And is back into position now.
So
about 60 riders, maybe
yeah,
less.
It looks like that sort of number of riders have managed to make it to the front. There's confirmation that Tim Wellens took 2 points. Pogačar says anything Jonas can do, I can just do as well. So he's now on the same number of points in the King of the Mountains as Jonas
Might be one of those who takes the jersey, actually, with the next climb.
Absolutely. Well, Wellens is on 2. Benjamin Thomas is on 2. Leknesund is on 1 point.
And there's 2 points available.
Could be Wellens who takes the points, potentially. Or Pogačar. Or Jonas Vingegaard. Could be in the King of the Mountains tonight.
Barguil. Yeah, that looks like Barguil at the front of the peloton now. Still quite narrow roads.
25.3 kilometers to go. We've just heard that Cofidis have had a load of their bikes stolen from their team hotel yesterday, which is terrible news. So the team is going to has had to bring their bikes from the service course, which of course is not too far away, but that is a lot of bikes to lose.
So was that why he was on the wrong bike then? That we had a full shot of him on the bike, and we're trying to understand, okay, is he on a different bike? Probably yes. So the news must have been out in France earlier.
We hadn't seen it till now. We've just been updated by Ava in our team, who's just said, right, have you seen this news? Loads of teamwork keeping us updated. Michael Storer, he's not in the front group of riders here.
No, but he wasn't even trying to be.
This group contains
I think he really just wants to focus for the high mountains. That's why he was staying at the very back of the peloton, trying to get through.
And the way that Tudor set things up as far as their team announcement was concerned was Alaphilippe and Hirschi going for stages. Michael Storer will wait for the mountains and try and win in the mountains. So still stalemate. No, a lot of teams have shown a little bit of their hand so far, but not so much. Nico, what's coming up then? 24 kilometers to go. Bottom of the climb is just under 10 kilometers to go. Many changes of direction, much to worry about on the run down to this next climb, the penultimate climb of the day?
No, now there will be until literally the bottom of the climb on this main road. So they'll have a bit of time now to reposition, regroup if the riders are a little bit dispatched. And Milan in that group too, made it back. And so they're gonna stay on this main road until they hit the town of Isk, and then they'll do a sharp left and right. Very, very tight and I can only expect massive sprints into the town before they go through the chicane, because you come out of that chicane and then you start climbing up the climb of the Côte de Saint-Étienne-de-Mont. And like I said, it says 1 kilometer at 10%, but it really is 800 meters at 15.
Really?
It flattens out on the top. And it doesn't go down straight away. It kind of stays a little bit over a crest, and then fast descent into the next town, sharp left, sharp right, and again another climb, and that will be the final climb. And then it's extremely narrow, just one lane on top of the final climb, 5k to go.
Look at the speed at which these riders are going downhill. Absolutely flat out. And this is the back group. This is not even the front group of riders. These riders trying to chase their way back in. But they're absolutely no more gears left.
No, and they want to reduce gears next year.
Yeah, they do.
I'll be. I don't. If I can give an opinion, I disagree with it. I think it's going to make it more dangerous, because at least with bigger gears, it gave the possibility to riders who were stronger to actually stretch the bunch and go into position around the corner.
I noticed that Dan Bigham, who's well known for thoughts on aerodynamics and everything else, he's at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. There was a Science in Cycling conference before the Tour de France, and Dan Bigham gave a presentation on why reducing gear sizes will make cycling more dangerous.
I 100% agree. And I was talking last week with Romain Bardet, who was actually here on the tour today in the team car, and he was saying the same. He says, in the world today of road cycling, the level is so high, but also so evenly balanced, that the extra gear helps to spread out the peloton.
We'll see how that test goes.
And in fairness, they say to reduce the top speed, but crashing at 52 or crashing at 58 literally is the same crash.
Yeah.
It's not that 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers per hour less that you're saving that's going to save your collarbone or whatever. So I don't think the excuse is quite valid.
Well, when you're looking at the descent just now, and you've just had that climb where a number of riders went away and now it came back together, all it means, surely, because if you go back to when we started cycling, you were in a schoolboy race where we all had the same size gears. It was very hard for a rider to break away, because you're all spinning flat out, trying to beat your opponent next to you, and you can't because you have no gears left. In effect, these pros, like you say, have all got similar power outputs or whatever. they are not going to be able to spin a gear any faster, and you're not going to see the big attacks of the likes of Tadej Pogačar. Just noticed some spectators don't realise with their phones just how close these riders are. So you...
Well, I wouldn't go for Tadej Pogačar. I don't think he climbs with the 55.11.
No.
So he's not going to run out of gears on the climb.
True.
But what you won't see is some of the better attacks on the flatter stages and some of the crosswinds that will really even things out, because, like I said, that before the crosswind is splits, because there's someone in the crosswind who is out of position and doesn't have the fitness or the power to keep up with the rider in front of him.
Exactly.
If you reduce the possibility of the power in front of you to produce more power and everyone's level is higher, well, there's less difference, so you don't split the bunch anymore.
Yeah. You won't get as exciting racing.
That's what I think anyway. And I don't think it makes the race safer at all.
20 kilometers of racing to go on the longest day in the Tour de France. Vingegaard moves up. He's actually bringing his team forward with Jorgensen.
Yeah, Jorgensen is probably going to go in front of him now. There it is. And Remco on third wheel on the left-hand side, so he's in good position now. 10 kilometers before they start the second last climb.
What I do see right now is Vingegaard's ability in terms of racing, just thinking about being aggressive, bringing his team into play. He's constantly aware in this race so far over the... OK, we're only at stage and a half, stage and 3/4 in. But he's very, very aware of what needs to be done and how he uses his energy. He's only got one teammate with him. Campenaerts is a little bit further behind. What is good for the team of Alpecin-Deceuninck is that Jasper Philipsen is still here with a chance of winning this stage. In that yellow jersey, right in the middle, hasn't put a foot wrong at all today, as Wiesma suddenly get 1, 2, 3 reinforcements.
Oops, on the side of the road again. Back on.
Team radio of Picnic Post NL.
If you're there now, you can be there in the final, mate. That was the hardest one. That was the hardest one. So if you're there now, you can be there in the final. Come on.
Talking to, I think, Tobias Lund, their sprinter, their second sprinter, because they'll go with Bittner if he is there for a big sprint. But other than that, they will go. In fact, though, I've just seen Pavel Bittner is there.
Yeah, and he's that's probably why he's trying to encourage him to say, okay, that was the hard one. I do believe the next one is the hard one, though. Sorry, Matt. I promise I didn't want to go against you twice today. It's nothing personal. But I do think, having ridden them, I do think the next one is a bit harder.
But maybe it's reverse psychology. He just wants Bittner to believe he can get over it.
It's management. You have to make him believe that it is. And seriously, we're talking one gradient or two gradients. It's more about the feeling. Felix Gall, also high hopes for GC this year.
He has, the head of the Decathlon Agi Désert Le Mondial team.
He's ridden very well in the past Tour de France's.
55 seconds for the chasers. We're about to get more riders coming back into this race, potentially, but they may run out of time because we've only got 7 kilometers. Now, look at the road, is just full of everybody trying to be in the right position. And they are nearly on the grass either side of this peloton. Just a massive colour, massive riders with a semblance of order, with the pink, the red with the yellow helmets, the blue on the left-hand side as Remco Evenepoel is there.
Ben Healy also sitting in second wheel. He said in his interview that he was hoping to have a good day today, that he believed he could have a good day.
Team of Ineos Grenadiers on the right-hand side. We've got Connor Swift there. They've also got Axel Laurent sitting second wheel. Tobias Foss just in front of him. Of course, Geraint Thomas had a little crash a while ago. Ineos Grenadiers have got Carlos Rodriguez a little bit further back, just behind Connor Swift. Now, generally, Connor Swift on days like today is there to look after Carlos Rodriguez, isn't he? But I have had conversations with Connor at the end of stages, and it's it's a job that takes a lot of focus because Rodriguez gets a little bit out of position in the peloton, and Connor has to go back and forward to find him and bring him forward and put him in the right place and say, sit here right now and then you'll be okay. Because it's funny when you look at a peloton, there's riders you notice straight away all of the time, and you just pick out and say, okay, they're there. But Carlos Rodriguez is one of those riders you very rarely spot. I don't know what it is.
I totally agree with you. He's one of those riders who also just at the moment hasn't been riding until now at the very, very front. And it's easy to speak about all the riders we have on the screen, but we never pick him out. It was easier to pick out when he had the Spanish champion jersey.
It was. 5 kilometers to the bottom of this climb.
Is that Tobias Foss?
It is Tobias Foss, I think. Yep, it's him on the right-hand side.
Former world champion in the time trial.
Yeah, really strong in the time trial. Campenert's alongside him, former hour record holder and stage winner Tour de France. Left-hand side, double Paris-Nice winner Maximilian Schachmann. Good to see him in the Tour de France. Benjamin Thomas, you're not going to get much shelter from Benjamin Thomas, are you? So low on the bike.
And also spending a lot of energy in the front if he was trying to go for the KOM points. About 5 kilometers to go until we turn left into the town. Start this third category climb. 1 kilometer, 10% is the official statistics, but it really is 800 meters at 15%.
Well, thanks for joining us for the 112th Tour de France. No breakaway. That's been caught a long time ago. Peloton all together. 15 kilometers to go. Heading into Boulogne-sur-Mer for the end of the longest day of this year's race. 209.1 kilometers. We've seen some surges. We've seen positioning. We're now seeing a fight. 5 kilometers to go now to the bottom of this climb. As Benjamin Thomas moves across on the left-hand side, flicks the elbow and asks some other teams to go to the front.
I think he realized that that was not his battle today. That he was just throwing away a lot of energy, and it's getting very, very tense in the front of the peloton. Ben Healy glued to the wheel. A really good position.
His EF team are doing a good job for him today, aren't they? They're keeping him in the right position. Just noticed that Geraint Thomas is back, having had a crash a little while ago, a bit of a tumble. EF have got a load of riders there, all set already. Ben Healy is one of them, a little bit further back.
7 riders.
Yeah, they've got the entire team there, haven't they?
Yeah, the entire team. Good job. Shows the level of fitness of the team.
Schachmann sits up now. Job done. He's emptied the tanks for Remco Evenepoel today. He's got nothing left in those legs. He'll sit up and now he'll recover. The team of Uno X Mobility with Abrahamsen. Intermarché moving forward again, with Biniam Girmay still there. Remember, this finish today is a long, long drag uphill. Everyone has said it's a GC day, a day for the overall, but is it going to be like that? Is that what's going to happen in the last 2 climbs of the day? Nico has said the next climb is really hard. We've seen riders go far too early on the climbs during this race, but this is now about timing things to perfection. EF take control.
But it's interesting, is not riding for Ben Healy then. He's taking the front, so they have other plans today.
It looks to me like, are they riding for Neilson Powless? Is he the rider that's set in? Well, the left-hand side wasn't the right way to go for EF, was it? They've lost about 50 metres. There's a green jersey up for grabs as well. There'll be points at the finish line as Cattaneo comes out in the front with Remco Evenepoel. Team of Groupama are still there. Look at the way some riders, Nico, are sprinting. It's like the end of the race, and yet we are still 12 kilometres from the line. Ben Healy is absolutely on his limit trying to bring this team forward.
Matteo Trentin doing an incredible work there for Hirschi on the wheel. There we go. Another roundabout.
Still, the right-hand side is a little bit quicker. Not much, just marginally.
But remember, we're going to turn left into the climb.
And I guess that's then why EF want to be left-hand side of the road.
Wow, look at the power from Matteo Trentin.
Incredible, isn't it? Here she looks good. Groupama have got all their riders lined out. Look at Remco sprinting for all he is worth. And on his wheel, out of the saddle, sprinting is Victor Campenaerts. Looking good is Guillaume Martin today, I have to say. He looks very comfortable.
He is on the wheel of Remco. About a kilometre before the peloton will turn right and then, sorry, left and then right into the climb. Matteo Trentin trying to make sure, because the Benoit has been a long pull there by the Italian.
The penultimate climb of today's stage, the Côte de Saint-Étienne-Amont. It's 1 kilometre, 10.6 its average gradient, but as Nico said, it's got about 800 metres of 15%. It's going to be a tough one. Groupama are looking fantastic this afternoon. Groupama FDJ United are united as they move up on the right-hand side. They're going to be the first team into the climb, which is a little bit of a turn up for the books. Guillaume Martin is there. Wonder what their plan is. Lenny Martinez, yet again, looks like it might not be his day. He's been dropped. Into the turn.
And then straight into the right.
And a big acceleration now by the team in blue and red. Wiesma looking around for Jonas Vingegaard. Groupama get ready. Groupama are planning something on this climb. And Victor Campenaerts doesn't want them to be there. Look at the speed of Ineos on the left-hand side as Connor Swift comes forward as well. 10 kilometres of racing to go on today's stage. They fire into this right-hand turn, absolutely on the limit. Adam Yates has just been dropped, we've just heard on Radio Tour. Now they make their way onto the climb.
Left and then straight away right.
Oh, everybody is right on the rails as they go through that left-hander. Another right-hander, as Nico said.
And now they start the climb.
Now it is all about power to the top of this rise. Campenaerts. What is the plan of Groupama? There's your vital statistics. 1 kilometre, 10.6%, and it's a little bit of a roller coaster from here. Up over the top, down the other side, flat out up over the next one, down the hill and into Boulogne-sur-Mer. Big acceleration from Lewis Askey.
Yeah, they could be riding for Romain Grégoire, I think.
I think so. Big move. Look at Jonas Vingegaard. He moves across.
Tim Benuccia going to take over now.
Tish Bernut goes. And on his wheel goes Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogacar, Jonas Vingegaard. It is an elite group of riders rising to the top on this climb. Pogacar is clicking his way through his computer right now.
This is the ramp I was talking about at over 15%. Mario Jorgensen looking very good there on the wheel of Vingegaard.
Romain Grégoire is there, Nico, but he's starting to shift backwards. So it is Tish Benoot,
Remco looking
good. Van der Poel, Pogacar, Vingegaard, Matteo Jorgensen, Remco Evenepoel. Then it's Romain Grégoire. Benoot pulls the parachute. Axel Laurence comes up. Oh, Mathieu van der Poel has a little bit of a switch to the other side, and Pogacar looks around to see what the damage is. Is he going to strike? Well, Jorgensen decides to go, and Pogacar now accelerates as well. This is the Wiesma plan to nullify Pogacar's punch.
Big pull, big acceleration there by Jorgensen. Van der Poel just gets a little bit out of the wind as well, because he was at the front very early. He knows he still has another climb to get over. Oh, Rodriguez is starting to struggle at the back there.
Well, there's only a few riders left.
Really well to be with that group.
He has. Grégoire is with Remco Evenepoel, Mathieu van der Poel, Vingegaard, Pogacar and Jorgensen. There's only a little group of 6. Grégoire is producing some performance on this climb. Can he win the stage for Groupama? FDJ United. Pogacar looks around, Vingegaard is there, Pogacar looks like he's just got the remote control out. Who's going to try and take the King of the Mountains? Pogacar refuses to go through because he doesn't want to be on his own. He's waiting for Narvaez.
Yeah, Narvaez is doing a big effort there to come back. He knows Pogacar needs him. This is the stage why he's on the team.
Pogacar goes over the top. That means Pogacar is the virtual King of the Mountains of this Tour de France, and Narvaez fighting to get himself back. Roglic is not there.
There he is. That second group.
There's Jasper Philipsen. Philipsen has hauled his way over the top, and Kevin Vauquelin decides, I fancy 2 stage wins in 2 Tours de France.
And these favourites are going to start looking at each other. Remco does like to continue to take a pull, doesn't like the playing around.
No, Remco loves it when there's a little bit of plateau across the top, rev it and open up the gap. So, elite group at the front. Van der Poel, Romain Gregoire, Axel Laurence, Jonas Vingegaard, Remco Evenepoel, Tadej Pogacar, Matteo Jorgensen, Jonathan Narvaez. Also, a couple of other riders just making their way onto the back. Attack now of Romain Gregoire as he goes clear to try and win this stage.
And it's a very, very fast descent now on this big wide road, and we get into the bottom of the descent, turn a sharp left. Be careful, there was loads of road furniture in that corner, and then we start 300 meters after a right-hand turn, and you start the last climb.
So we're about 1.5 kilometers now from the last climb. Is there going to be another attack as they go 84 kilometers an hour down this descent, plunging their way to the final rise, which is going to test all these riders out. Then it's about the drag up to the finish line. Remco Evenepoel on the front. He looks in control at nearly 90 kilometers an hour into this next left-hander. They're almost at the final climb of the day.
In a short time, they will turn that onto the right and it will rise straight up.
There's a number of riders coming back. One of them is an Israel Premier Tech rider who's just suddenly jumped his way across. One Israel Premier Tech rider.
Roglic is there in that group.
Roglic is losing a little bit more time again. Here goes Axel Laurence as he decides to go on the attack with Mathieu van der Poel, trying to take a little opportunity to give Arkea B&B Hotels a much-needed stage win in this Tour de France, because right now this team might not exist next season. They need a big sponsor. Van der Poel taking the opportunity now. Jorgensen tries to close the gap. 2 Groupama riders. Is there what? No, just one in there. Onto the climb, the Côte de Trot, 800 meters flat out. Narvaez decides to go. He's clicking his way through his computer as well. Sets his timer. Remco Evenepoel moves up on the left-hand side.
Is that Only? Only.
It's Oscar Only who's there for the team of Picnic Post NL. And a number of riders just rejoin as they reach the bottom. It's Lutsenko who's there for the team of Israel Premier Tech. Geraint Thomas has just rejoined. 13%. Only on the right-hand side. Also there, one of the Cofidis riders has just rejoined as well. And Mark Hirschi, is that Alaphilippe or Hirschi, who's there for Tudor? Vingegaard doesn't want to go. Coming across another Ineos Grenadier rider. Roglic just rejoins at the back.
Lipovic is also in this group.
One Cofidis rider is in here as well. Just trying to see, it looks like Buchmann and Ben O'Connor.
And at the very top,
it's cracked.
It doesn't go down straight away, and it gets extremely narrow. One single lane after this KOM. Very straightforward descent, not technical, but just extremely narrow.
Jorgensen swinging in and out. Look at Hirschi, under pressure, but he's there. The Aussie Ben O'Connor has been distanced. Here goes Kevin Vauquelin, big attack of the Frenchman.
Only straight on the wheel.
Only wants the stage win for Picnic Post NL. He's been given the freedom, just try and do what you can do. Only trying to close the gap. Volcalan is going to be first over the top of this King of the Mountains. He's going to take the points at the top. 1 point on offer for that tough little climb. Now we're only 5 kilometers from the finish. Philipsen trying to hang on. Just being distanced there was Axel Laurence. He cannot go with the little move. Problem here for Biniam Girmay. Bike change for the white jersey. Attack of Vingegaard. Vingegaard starts to strike now. Big acceleration of Jonas Vingegaard as he starts the acceleration to go downhill now and put everyone under pressure. Well, Vingegaard is riding the first 2 days of this Tour de France with vengeance, with real focus and with an attacking capability we haven't really seen so much in the last tours.
So now we're going to be on a much wider road. Just be careful now because there's a lot of teammates who are gone. And some riders are probably going to come from behind and try and attack again. Here goes Volcalan for the 3rd or 4th time. Jorgensen straight on the wheel.
Volcalan takes another opportunity. Jorgensen straight away. Only tries to close the gap. 4.3 kilometers of racing to go. They lean the right shoulder into that right-hand turn at 60 kilometers an hour. Jorgensen just pedals easily. Only looks across, says to Buitrago, you close the gap. Buitrago isn't able to for Bahrain Victorious. Counter-attack comes from Israel Premier Tech. Look at the speed of that rider. 4 kilometers to go.
And great call from the team to let Jorgensen ride, because that's the whole point of having him there. 3.9 kilometers to go.
Is that Lutsenko? It looks like the style of Lutsenko coming across. It really looks like him. I can't quite see from here. It looks like Lutsenko. It is Lutsenko.
It's hard to recognize him in a new kit.
It is, isn't it? So used to him being in other colours, but it is Lutsenko with that. He doesn't have his number showing this afternoon, but it is his style. Head slightly up as Jorgensen goes through to the front now. Lutsenko is just going to sit on. And it looks like a little bit of a shift across as UAE tried to close the gap for maybe a stage win for Pogačar.
I think that's Almeida.
2.9 kilometers to go now, 70 kilometers an hour. Almeida's going to close the gap and save this stage victory for the world champion. Is this going to be win number 100 of his career? Nico, what's coming up?
They're going to go over a bridge now. It's pretty much flat, and turn left just after the 2 kilometers, excuse me. There's the bridge. And then they're going to take the side of the river, and then we turn right, and you will be in the final climb. Lipovic, big attack from Lipovic.
Lipovic decides to go. Immediately onto his wheel goes Lutsenko again. Groupama have got 2 or 3 riders in here. 62 kilometers an hour. They've been so active, the Groupama team. Oh, whoa, Lutsenko almost overshoots on the right-hand side.
Lipovic insisting, and they're looking a little bit behind. Jorgensen moving out of the line.
He looks across. This could be a good move by the team of Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe.
Navarrete taking the front now. Almeida and Tadej Pogačar looking very good, Tadej Pogačar.
He does look comfortable, doesn't he? Everyone's queuing up, ready for this finish. Enric Mas is there. 56 kilometers an hour.
And I think Alaphilippe is in that group as well.
I think Alaphilippe
is there. He is on the right.
He is. He could win this stage, you know. Here she is there on the left. Alaphilippe is there on the right-hand side.
What an effort by Lipovic.
This is a massive move. He's still holding them off, and UAE are having to use up some ammunition to bring him back. Big move to the right-hand side. 1,200 meters to go on the longest day, and Lipovic is about to be caught just as they make their way onto the first little bit of this rise.
So the rise goes till about 500 meters to go, then it takes a sharp right, and it starts to slowly go down for 100 meters and kicks up the last 300 meters. Big effort there by Lipovic. He's not looking back, he's going for it. Almeida struggling to close the gap. Yes, he is closing the gap slowly. Tadej Pogačar on the wheel.
Alaphilippe moves up to get ready.
Only looking good as well.
Alaphilippe looks good on this finish. Big move on the outside. Felix Gall comes up. He's already won a stage of the Tour. Felix Gall is there, Lutsenko is still there, Van der Poel in the middle. We've got 670 metres to go. Enric Mas on the right-hand side. It's going to be an all-out sprint for the top of this climb. Big move of Julian Alaphilippe. Alaphilippe launches, looks around, sees Mathieu Van der Poel, decides not to go. Vingegaard moves up on the wheel of Tadej Pogacar. Pogacar looking for his 100th win in his career. Alaphilippe swings across the road, not prepared to go to the front yet. It's a long way to the finish line. Big move on the left-hand side of the road. Pogacar looks. Vauquelin goes again to try and win the stage. Van der Poel now starts to open it up. It is such an elite group of riders. Moving up, Alaphilippe onto the wheel of Tadej Pogacar. Vingegaard moves up on the left-hand side. There goes Mathieu Van der Poel. Van der Poel starts the acceleration. He sees the gantry in front of him. It's going to be all out between Van der Poel and Pogacar. Van der Poel and Pogacar, left, right. Van der Poel. Mathieu Van der Poel wins stage 2.
What an incredible performance there on Mathieu Van der Poel. He seemed to be all the way in control. He didn't panic. He was left in the front from quite afar. He led out, he kept the speed out, he had his timing perfectly. He knew he could take the inside of the last corner and power himself to the finish. What a sprint.
Jasper Philipsen is going to pull in this group, but importantly, Carlos Rodriguez loses a load of time on today's stage. Philipsen in the yellow jersey, 32 seconds behind, but in this group is Carlos Rodriguez. Alpecin Koenig win 2 stages in 2 days.
And he will be the new yellow jersey as well tonight.
Wow, what an incredible finish. Mathieu Van der Poel.
Actually, maybe not.
It's going to be close between him and Pogacar on the count back, but we're going to double check. Because Pogacar yesterday was 18th and Mathieu Van der Poel was 28th. Yeah, but Van der Poel takes 10 seconds, Pogacar takes 6, so Van der Poel should just take the yellow jersey across the seat in the team bus and put it on for tomorrow. Nico, talk us through this finish. What a finish it was.
Vauquelin tried to go, but there was not much left there. Close away, straight away in control. Lets Pogacar move into the middle. And then here we go. He knows the corner. He's seen the finish. They studied it. Keeps the right-hand side of the barriers, making sure Pogacar has to go the long way around him. Oh, that was a long sprint.
Wow. Vingegaard in 3rd place. An all-out sprint between the current world champion and the former world champion. And Van der Poel has more power. 1 bike length. Vingegaard will lose 2 seconds on Tadej Pogacar. Doesn't get much better than that as a finish, does it?
No, it was an exciting finish today. Real classic stage in the Tour de France.
Well, so many people had said that Van der Poel would win stage 2, and he delivers. Look at the speed of him round that turn. Flat out. Pogacar, gritted teeth. Julian Alaphilippe at the front of a finish of a bike race at this level for the first time in a long time, actually, in Tour de France terms.
Good result there by Paris-Peintre as well.
ماشي نايلو معانتي كلاتك توصل زلخ سبسكرايب እንዳገበርካ ካብ ጽባሕ ሙሉ መደባት ክንፉኒና ከምትናይ ዓሚ ክንተሓጓጎሲና ለማዓንቲ ካይ መዓልፍና ነ ጽባሕ ግን ናትና ኩላካ توصل زلخ سبسكرايب እንዳገበርካ ውጣ
Coming up to the line. Well, we thought it was a general classification day, and that's how it proved. At the back, Wout van Aert.
We're going to start seeing big gaps today.
Let's take a look at the classification of stage 2. Mathieu Van der Poel wins in just under 5 hours, 4:45. Pogacar in 2nd. Vingegaard takes 3rd place. A great ride by Gregoire. and Julien Alaphilippe in 4th and 5th places. Fifth time that Boulogne-sur-Mer has been stage of the Tour de France. The last time was in 2012. We finished here. It was a long run-in, wasn't it, to an absolute blockbuster finish?
Yeah, it was a long wearing down stage to a last very exciting 50, 60 kilometers.
Jonathan Milan. The Tour de France makes you dream, but it also crushes them when it feels like it. Milan wanted yellow yesterday, tried to hold on today. At some point, he will get his chance. Next group of riders come in, including Matteo Trentin, Marc Soler, Stuyven, Benjamin Thomas, who will lose the King of the Mountains, and the white jersey of Biniam Girmay. He will pass that over as well. He will no longer be the leader of that classification.
Barret also one of the big French hopes. Lotto Soudal, Campenart. Quinn Simmons crossing the line, his American jersey. There's Paulus.
Mathieu van der Poel, congratulations. You were the favourites of the stage. Everyone was talking about Mathieu van der Poel, but still, what a battle and what a struggle to get that victory.
Yeah, it was super difficult. The final was actually harder than I thought. Yeah, I was really motivated. Finally, after it's been 4 years, I think, since I've won my first stage.
كنا ليتي صباح لك ساعتنا خنركب هنا سسنا ينعقو.
Makes it even more special.
Yeah. Of course, people put me as a favorite, but yeah, if you see which riders were in front on the climbs, I think yeah, I did a really good job today to be there.
Because you believed that Jasper could maybe hang on?
Yeah, especially because they predicted headwind on the climbs. So I thought, yeah, he would have a chance. But like I said, the climbs were harder than I expected. It was